Welcome to the Inspiring Coaches Show, the podcast devoted to inspiring coaches to bring their professional dreams to life by revealing the knowledge, insights, and best practices of other inspiring coaches. I'm your host, Jen Anderson, PCC, early settler of the coaching industry, lover of all things coaching, and what coaching is doing to make the world a better place. Well, hello out there. As I've mentioned at the beginning of every one of these podcast episodes, I love to start every coaching session by asking my client, what can we celebrate from your life? And the reason I do that is because I've found that most people are walking around in life not thinking about what they can celebrate from their life. And so when I ask them this, they take a minute to think about how they want to answer it. And then they inevitably come up with something that's working well for them. And it creates that instant shift that we're always looking for our clients. So today I asked my friend Miok, who is a new coach in the US. And Miok said, I'm just about to launch the marketing for my very first retreat, where writers will come together for coaching, connection, and guidance on getting their work published. This has been a lot of work and a steep learning curve, so I'm thrilled it's all coming together and I can start putting it out there in the world. So yay, me! Congratulations. Very excited for you. So dear listener, I would love to invite you to share in a celebration that we can feature in an upcoming episode of the podcast. Keeping in mind confidentiality if you're going to reference any of your clients, of course, but if you could just send a sentence or two about something that's going well in your coaching, then I will plan to feature it. And you can send that to Jennifer@coachingoutofthebox.com and we'll get ourselves started. So this is so funny. I am noticing that I have a little mascara running because our guest today shared something with me that made me tear up a little bit. And so get ready to be inspired because this is a lovely human that we are going to get to meet and spend time with today. So I want to let's just get into it. Our guest coach today is Carolyn Hamilton, and I think it's Kuby. Is it Kuby?
Thanks for clarifying. It's Kuby, and
Kuby.
We are always asked. Yes.
And I meant to ask that before we got started, but that's all right. Kuby.
Oh, good.
I just know you as Carolyn, and so I've never tried to say your last name. All right. So Carolyn is the founder, owner, CEO of Morningstar Center for Engagement, which is headquartered in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. Carolyn is a proud Algonquin woman who brings her positive spirit, authenticity, professionalism, and fun personality to all she does. Carolyn is a certified executive coach through Royal Roads University, as well as an ICF professional certified coach. She is a coach educator, coaching supervisor, and mentor coach. Her leadership expertise stems from 22 years as an entrepreneur and a former 10-year career as a human resources HR professional in the Government of Canada. Carolyn's professional passions include helping leaders and teams optimize performance, wellness, and diversity appreciation. Love that language. And helping coaches maximize their potential. Carolyn is also excitedly preparing to publish a self-help leadership development book. So today, Carolyn is ready to chat about what it means to own your gold, naming and claiming your core presence. Carolyn is so inspired by this concept as an integral part of her work that she is trademarking that term. To get you centered on her topic, Carolyn has provided us with a quote. There is great value in taking time to create a signature presence as a coach or leader. And it's cool to revisit and see how it shifts over time with enhanced skills and experiences. So while you're pondering that bit of wisdom, we'll take a quick break to hear from our inspiring sponsor, and then we'll be right back with Carolyn Hamilton-Kuby.
On behalf of all of us here at the International Coaching Group, we'd like to thank you for joining us today. We hope you are enjoying the Inspiring Coaches Show. This podcast is just one example of the many resources and tools we offer. If you are looking for an ICF accredited coach educator, look no further. Our flagship 555 coaching skills training program has been taught to over 45,000 people in over 38 countries. Our signature Coach Approach to Leadership series is the ideal program for fast-tracking your ICF credential. It has been a key factor in why individuals and corporations worldwide have chosen the International Coaching Group to enhance their coaching skills training. Interested in seeing how our coaching programs can benefit you or your organization? Please reach out to an enrollment coach today. It would be our sincere pleasure to support your coaching needs. Join us at the International Coaching Group and be part of a global community committed to excellence in coaching.
Well, welcome back. And as a quick reminder, today we're talking about how our guest, Carolyn Hamilton-Kuby, is inspiring the world with her soon-to-be trademarked term, Own Your Gold. So Carolyn, welcome.
Thank you, Jen. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, I am thrilled. As you know, we've been playing a little bit more in recent months together as we're collaborating in various projects. And so, yes, it was an absolute yes to bring you in. And I'm so glad that you were willing to come and share your brilliance with our listeners. It's just so valuable. So Carolyn, yeah, go ahead.
I so appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Jen, I just did want to mention out the gate when you mentioned my business, and I am in Kingston, Ontario, that it is located on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Huron-Wendat people who have lived on, taken care of, and loved this land for thousands of years. Thank you.
Thank you. And I really appreciate knowing that and feeling that, the importance of that. Thank you, Carolyn. So I know when we chatted about your presentation today, one of the first things that you wanted to bring forward and that I thought would be a good idea if we, kind of shared with our audience is what you actually mean by core presence. So what would you like to share about that?
Well, thank you. And I think I'm going to start by going back to the quote that you put out there that I mentioned, Jen, which is that value in developing a signature presence, a connection to your signature presence, whether you're a leader, a coach in life. And it is cool to revisit it because it can shift over time. I feel there's equal value, if not even more value, investing time to get really clear on what I call your core presence. And that is that part of us that is foundational at the depth of who we are, our essence, and it remains constant. Signature presence can change over time, much as our physical signature, right? Mine doesn't look the same as it did when I was a teenager, when I write my name. And so it is with signature presence. As we develop experience as a leader, as a coach in any realm, the descriptors for our signature presence may change up here and there. And core presence, though, being at the depth of who we are, our essence, again, have been constant throughout our life. So if we think back to when we were like little children, teenagers, young adults, still young adult, young at heart, okay, no matter what age. And there are elements that you know to be true. You know to be true about yourself. They have never changed. And that inner knowing also informs us that they're not going to change. There may be levels of core values, and sometimes core values can shift. It's at the essence of who we are, the depth of soul, spirit, North Star, whatever term you choose, to describe it. It's at the core of who we are. That's why I labeled it as core presence. And that's not in relation to religion, although it may be for some people. Rather, it relates to connection to our best self, whatever you consider that to be. For me, it happens to be soul, spirit. Spirituality is a key aspect of my leadership presence and coach presence in life, I think. However, it can really be whatever term you choose it to be. Best self, authentic self, North Star, soul, spirit, whatever. The bottom line, it is extremely powerful to be clear and connected to that, to the essence of who we are, because it's a foundational energy in my experience, in my life philosophy and spirituality, that energy source within that doesn't change. It doesn't shift no matter what hurricanes or tornadoes are swirling around us. We stay grounded in it. It is a place to anchor into confidence in who we are. It's unshakable. And so would it be helpful to share what I consider my core presence to be?
Love that. And then I want to hear yours. And then
Mhm.
I'm playing around with some things that I've used. And I'm kind of curious what your take would be on mine if we have time. So yes,
Oh,
share yours.
well, it's interesting that you would put it out there, that you'd be interested to knowing what I see yours as, because I describe mine and honestly everyone's as light. We are light.
Mm.
I am light. And so if I am light, I need to let my light shine, not blind other people. That would be more ego-centered, essence-centered, just shining brilliantly, bring our best self forward. And I'm grounded, if I think of it in terms of what aspects have been there through my life. I'm grounded in faith, hope, and love. Nothing can change those things. You know, I've had betrayals in my life. It may have, at some level, caused me to, step back. However, really at the core of who I am, the trust has still been there. To trust myself, maybe when I couldn't even trust others, but to trust myself or my higher power, and it may be different, God, the universe, for different people, it may be different things, or maybe not at all. It's just self-trust, whatever. But, just spending time to think about what is it that is at the essence of who I am, and then I ground in it, helps ground me. And taking that even further, as an Indigenous woman, I'll share that, there's more of a holistic, I'll say, approach typically in Indigenous traditions and teachings. And there are 4 realms of being, if you will: the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual. That's ourself. The mind, body, emotion, and spirit. And so if I tease it out a little more so, and I think back to who I have been, who I am through this life, no matter what age. Okay, let's go to the mindset, if you will. I have a positive mindset. Family members say, even all my pictures as a baby, I'm smiling. And I have had that through my life, no matter what. Dirt can be thrown my way. I will see a positive in how to use that dirt. I'll build a sandcastle, for heaven's sakes. And that has remained the same through my life. Okay, emotions through the heart space. I'm a humanitarian. I always have been. Even I remember when I was like 10 years old and my best friend and I were playing, and a little girl in the neighborhood came up and spit on my best friend and called her the N-word. Now, my body type then was kind of like my body type now. I was never, athletic, I'll say. But I'll tell you, even with that little bit of extra weight on, I chased that girl through the woods and I was huffing and puffing, and I called her out on it. Yes, an ally, an advocate, a human rights centered person at the core, a humanitarian from the get-go. And that has stayed with me and will never change. Again, that's a feature of what I call core presence. It just doesn't change. It's just part of you, the fabric of who we are. Physically, if we look at the physical from the Indigenous perspective, I have a sensational body.
Mm-hmm.
So does everybody. And we don't
Mm-hmm.
always connect to it. And no matter what body type, if we look at that, but also we have the senses to take in, to look, to hear, to taste, to smell, the five senses, and feel. And to connect to that when I'm communicating, being very intentional of my not only verbal but nonverbal communication, and bring my um, whole level of sensational physical self to the experience. And now spirit, mind, body, emotion, spirit. I'm an accepting, resilient, and intuitive spirit. And I've just had those aspects in my life from the get-go. My spidey sense is really strong, always has been. I bounce forward pretty quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and accepting and non-judging. Those are core aspects of me, Jen, that have been in place since I was little, a teen, and all through the decades. And I know they'll remain no matter what comes my way. So a great way to name and claim your core presence is to take time, invest time, and consider, what is it about you that has not changed? And you know, at the core of you, you sense that wise self within. That's who you are, who you be.
Okay. I just want to sit and listen to you for hours. Hours and
Thank you.
hours. You really
You
created a
honor me.
feeling within me, Carolyn. I
Aw.
think that's the beauty of it. We've talked about what a brilliant storyteller you are, and you promised you would bring some stories into our presentation, and you already did. I just saw you running through the woods. Which is just that idea that it's been with us always. And you started out by talking about light, right? That we're all light. And I just was giggling a little bit. So I'll describe this because not everybody will be able to see it, as they'll just be listening. But I got a package this week, and there was a card in it. And this is what it said: focus on the light and you will thrive.
Look at that. Of course it's there.
Right.
Right?
So your confirmation that it's always there, it's always supporting us. I mean, somebody just threw this in a package and sent it my way, but that's what it says. And it's in full support of what you're offering us today.
There you go. And that's how it happens, and that to me is our goal. It's our gold. It's our value. It can inform signature presence. It can inform elevator pitches if we want to go that way from an entrepreneurial perspective. But once we are grounded, anchored into it, that we take time, invest time to really get clear on the essence of who we are, in my experience, that's where confidence comes in. And I'm not talking about arrogance, which is ego-based. I mean essence-based confidence. As a coach, as a leader, and that helps us own our gold. But it starts with naming and claiming it.
I'm hearing that, and I'm imagining so many ways this applies for coaches. Even that thought of, we talk about presence and how important it is to maintain presence as we're, well, really always, but certainly prior to a coaching session, how we've developed ourselves, who we are is there to support us in preparing, being ready for our coaching sessions. And I was just imagining the power of taking that deep breath and settling into your core, knowing that everything you just described is there for us, and creating that beautiful coaching container for our clients as we dive into the exploration.
Thank you. It is freeing because we can get in our heads, especially, I've been coaching for 15 years. I can still get in my head. I'm human. Hello. About what's the next best question or whatever. I can go there. However, that breath, connect to the breath, that to me connects to my best self, soul, bodies, all my whole self.
Well, so much to think about this. I have so many questions I can ask. So own your gold is something that you like, look at you're just like about it. And trademarking it, Share with us a little bit about what that means to you.
Well, it is exactly that connecting to our best self and that wise self within, if you will, what
Mhm.
we know to be true, and bringing that to the plate. And um, I I could share about how it came to be, how I was inspired to come
That's
up
what
with
I
it,
would love to
and
hear.
or a
Yeah.
coaching, and how I apply it in a coaching context. Would that be helpful? Which
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
either
hoping
one?
to
Okay,
hear
either
about.
one.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so what? How about if I share? Maybe I'll share first the coaching context. So we are whole people coaching whole people. We're not bodies on a stick. We're not heads on a stick, I should say. We're not heads on a stick. We are body, mind, emotion, spirit. Okay. Essence. So when we bring it, when we consider that, it's that can be a tool, if you will, just to get out of the headspace right there. Just
Mhm.
recognizing, bring your whole self. And um, we meet people differently when we walk in with that core presence in place, solidly in place. And in coaching, we often hear, don't coach the issue, coach the person, right?
Mhm.
And for me, it is even beyond that. I just like coach the energy, coach the
Mhm.
essence. So you listen at a different level, at a deeper level when it's that essence. And I'll give a quick example. Um, and I won't share the whole story because it's a bit long, but in essence, a person arrived and suddenly looked at me and said, I'm going to do it. That's all. I'm going to do it. Not leading up to that, I didn't really see anything. I thought this is kind of come out of the blue. So in the moment, I paused, and in my mind, I thought, I think he's talking about suicide. Like that was my intuitive,
Mhm.
but I think he's talking about suicide. And I said, do what? You know. No, do what? You know. And then he said, I can't take it anymore. My mom has passed away. I've lost my job and the hole is too empty and I've had it and I'm doing it. And it's like just this came out of the blue suddenly. And in that moment, I tensed up, my body tensed up. My head was in fear. My body tensed up, understandably. And I'm kind of going, what my thoughts are, what am I going to do? And my feelings like, I got to do something. And he looked down, started crying. And in that moment, I took some breaths, and then it was just the message was within was be with him. Like right from that core presence, it was just like a be with him, connect with your breath. So it was like, take your time, it's okay. And as I centered myself, and he was crying uncontrollably, and I got more grounded, the first thing that happened was that in my headspace, I went to, I've got to get him help. I'm going to have to talk about breaking confidentiality.
Mhm.
And right,
Mhm.
he is posing a threat to himself. And so it was kind of this checklist of things I had to do that I'd never done before. So very much in that headspace. And this was just a matter of like maybe a minute that this all unfolded. And so I'm in my headspace about, I must do this and I'm going to have to break confidentiality and help him. I've never done this before. How am I going to do it? And I realized I wasn't really connecting to my breath in the moment. So I was tense and I just took another breath. And at that, he looked up at me, Jen, and his eyes met mine.
Mhm.
And in that moment, my list was there, but it went on the side.
Mhm.
And what came out of my mouth was not cognitive. It was, I'll say from spirit, from soul, whatever. It was intuitive. And I said, what would your mother say to you right now?
Mhm.
And in that moment, those words came out. I thought, oh, where did that come from? And should I
Mhm.
have done that? I think I should have. That might make him
Mhm.
feel worse. I went back into head mode. And he looked at me. He said, Oh my gosh, Carolyn, my mother would be so angry with me. What am I thinking? I've got to snap out of this. It was just like, ooh, like that.
Mm.
And thank you, thank you. I'm fine, I'm fine. I said, well, hold it. Okay, I'm glad you're feeling fine. I'm really concerned with what you shared, and it's important to get help. So I'm just wondering, you know,
Mm-hmm.
what needs to happen right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm knowing what needs to happen, checking in with him. And he said, well, yes, well, my wife's coming and to pick me up, and I'll have her come in and we'll talk about it. And she came in. And so they had a plan to reach out right then to go get him
Mm-hmm.
help. But I walked away from that. It happened so suddenly out of the blue and thinking, oh my gosh, and what if it had gone the other way? And yet, at a core level, at my core presence level, I felt, oh, it felt exactly what needed to happen, the exact question.
Mm-hmm.
And I still shored it up with the requirements, of course. But I pondered that after because it was so intuitive and in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I went through my training at Royal Roads and I mentioned it, I said, I've been always worried that if that happened again, I might be doing a disservice to a client if I'm asking them a question that's maybe not, I don't know. It's really a clue. And they said that was masterful. And I called ICF, after when I became a credential coach and said, they said, oh, ethically, that's absolutely solid. Like you were in the moment with the client and trusting your intuition in the moment. It's
Mm-hmm.
what surfaced. So that's just an example of energy, coaching energy.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful example. And oh my goodness. Okay, so there was a part two you were going to talk about, which I think it was where it came from, right? The concept of
Yes.
own your gold and how you became inspired or were inspired to take this to the extent of trademarking, because that's some effort,
Yes.
honestly.
Yes. So I mentioned that I'm Indigenous and it's on my dad's side.
Mm,
And so my dad, my dear dad, my two times great grandfather was an Indigenous chief, Chief
mm,
Sharbet. In fact, Sharbet Lake, Ontario was named after him.
mm,
And it's only about 45 minutes from Kingston. And so during the Great Depression, my dad had to leave school as a teenager because times were really tough and help support the family. So he came into Kingston and he could not get a job because every time they asked where he was from and he'd say Sharbet Lake, the response was, get out of here, you dirty Indian.
mm,
And that was typical back then.
mhm,
And here he was needing to help support the family financially and not being able to get a job. And so he had to put aside his beautiful, proud ancestral identity as the great grandson of Chief Sharbet and go into places. And when they'd say, where are you from? He'd say, Kingston.
mm,
And he started getting jobs. And that carried through when he joined the military. And, personally, he owned his gold as an Indigenous person, as the great grandson of Chief Sharbet. In terms of professionally, he felt he couldn't in that time and age of his generation. And so I saw it from an identity perspective.
mm,
What happened as a result of it. And that at least, certainly personally, he owned it. And so that was part of it for me, just seeing the need to own who you are at the essence of who you are. The other experience was when my first contract in my business was giving business skills training, and I was giving a workshop on selling. By that time, I think it was about year 7 of my business. And so I had developed my client base quite considerably and grown my business from local to, at that point, national. It was just going international. And I had up on a slide, um, the logos with permission from some organizations and the names of others, just kind of showing. And I kind of said, so you can see I've grown my local business from like coast to coast in Canada and some like Fortune 500 corporate headquarters in Toronto. And And the point of having that up there, it's not wow me, it is if I can do it, you can do it. That was, and people went, thank you, way they went for their coffee break, except for one person. He stayed behind. And as I was going up for my coffee, he said, Carolyn, can I talk to you? And I said, sure. So I went over and he said, I was thinking of hiring you as my executive coach. And I said, oh, wow, well, thank you for that honor. He said, well, I'm wondering if I should now. And I said, oh, okay. That's okay. That's fair. Was there something you wanted to share with me? And he said, well, the reason why I'm now doubting it is because you stood up there with that amazing accomplishment and your body language was like, look, it's not wow me. He said, it should be wow you. It should be wow you. And I said, that's a great piece of feedback. Thank you. I didn't know I was coming across that way. Now that you say it, yes. I said, I guess the thing is, I wouldn't, part of Indigenous teachings, quite honestly, is being grounded in humility. And the last thing I'd want to do is come across as being arrogant. And he said, not possible. Not possible. You're so grounded in humility. Trust it. And I thought, that's true. He said, and so I thought, okay. He said, trust that and own your value. And I thought, oh, that is a great, great point. And so, bless him, he did hire me as his executive coach after the fact. And it really caused me to ponder. Yes, am I owning my value? And yes, confidence, it's true. Confidence, when it's connected to the essence of who you are, is grounded in humility. Arrogance, when it's ego-based, is not. And so I started owning my confidence more so and grounded in humility and really started pondering who I am at the core of who I am and naming that gold, claiming that gold, and owning that gold going forward.
All right. I understand why you want to trademark it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just the brilliance within the story. And you had a quote in there. I'm gonna listen back to this and grab it, but it was something along the lines of confidence when it's grounded in humility. Right. Do you remember how you said that?
Well, confidence to me, this is the world according to me. And so it's cool if nobody agrees, but I see it as confidence. True confidence is when it's from our essence, and it's okay to own that. It's grounded in humility versus arrogance, which is more connected to ego. In my life philosophy experience.
Beautiful.
And so that has allowed me. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
So that has allowed me that knowing. It feels true to me at the core of who I am. And it may not to others, but it feels true to me to the core of who I am. And so it helps me walk this earth as a wise, smart, confident woman connected to my core presence and gifts I bring to the world, my light, and to let it shine.
Well, if everyone listening isn't fully on board with figuring this out, capturing it, creating their language around it, I don't know if they've been listening carefully. So thank you, Carolyn. I wish we had some more time because I have a bunch of more questions that I would ask you, and I'm conscious that we have as much time as we have. So I know you do have a let me get the language right, self-help leadership development coming. Do you have an idea of when we're going to be able to see that?
I'm hoping that my book will be published by the end of the year, if not early next year.
Okay.
That is the plan. And you asked about next stretch, and that's going to be launching motivational speaking more so.
Oh, yes. I wanted to ask you about next stretch. Okay. All right. Thank you for squeezing that in. I'm glad we got that piece in there too. No matter who you are, no matter how grounded you are in your essence and you're owning your gold and all of that, there's a next stretch, right? It's always pointing you towards the next stretch. So thank you for that. So how can anyone who's listening reach out to you and connect with you if they want to continue this conversation in some way?
Oh, an easy way to do that is through LinkedIn. Carolyn Hamilton-Kuby, and it's Carolyn Hamilton-Kuby, and or my website, it's www.mstar.ca. My business is Morningstar Center for Engagement. Short form is MSTAR. So
MSTAR.
mstar.ca.
.ca. Okay, good. Well, we're going to take a quick break here now. Can you stay for just a few more seconds
I'd
while we
love
do
to.
this? Okay, great. When we come back, I'm going to share with everyone how you can possibly become a guest on our show. So we'll take a moment now to hear from our wonderful sponsor.
Whether you have your ICF certification or going through the process, you may be wondering how to set up and build a thriving coaching business. We know it's not easy to get started. There are so many unknowns, yet you know who you are and how your work can positively impact the lives of your clients. With this in mind, we have created the Business Builder Essentials for Coaches program. This program is led by a world-class experienced coach that has helped hundreds of coaches build their practices over the years. You can help your clients set and achieve their goals, learn new skills, and make positive changes in their lives. This can be an extremely rewarding experience. You don't have to go at it alone. This course is practical and pragmatic and gets working towards building your dream coaching business from day one. You've got this, and we're here to help. Reach out to an enrollment coach today. Let's make your dream a reality.
All right. Well, we are wrapping up now with our wonderful guest. And I want to encourage anyone out there who thinks that they might like to come and play on the podcast. We're always looking for inspiring guests. Share your stories so that we can inspire coaches of all levels all over the world. And so if you'd like to do that, join me on the show. You can send me an email, jennifer@coachingoutofthebox.com, and include your topic idea and just a short blurb. It doesn't have to be fully formed. Even we can tease that out for you, just on how you think you might have something that would inspire other coaches to bring their professional dreams to life. So as we all know, coaches love to express gratitude. And Carolyn, thank you so much for bringing your light, bringing your essence, owning your gold. Thank you for owning your gold and sharing it with us all.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been a pleasure.
And I can't wait to see how we're going to partner and play and continue our conversation in the future. So looking forward to that. I want to thank everyone who is involved in the production of this as well. Lucy is editing and making sure that things get posted on time, which is such a great, valuable service to me, who all I really want to do is talk to my guests. So thank you, Lucy. And thank you to all of you who are listening. I know you're here because you want to be inspired and you want to bring your coaching dreams to life. So thank you very much for your time and energy and your essence that you bring. Until next time, I'm Jen Anderson, MCC, and this is the Inspiring Coaches Show.